Alright everyone, as you can see from the title, this is my last review of 2019. From here on out, I'm going to be doing lists for the rest of the year. No more new albums to review, so I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you guys for supporting me throughout 2019. This was my first year doing reviews on this YouTube channel, so thank you guys for the warm welcome. I know that I'm not like one of the biggest channels on here, but I appreciate that you guys have opened up to my reviews, that you've stuck with my antics and my goofiness, and that you've continued to watch. So thank you guys, I appreciate it. And now on to the album that I will be reviewing today. Harry Styles is back with his second studio album, Fine Line. Harry Styles, I'm sure you guys know who he is at this point. Formerly of the boy band One Direction, he has maybe been the biggest of the boys since their breakup. Try saying that 5 times fast. But while they've all achieved some level of success since the group disbanded, it seems like Harry has been potentially the biggest of the bunch. In 2017, he released his debut album, a self-titled record that featured a top 10 peaking hit in Sign of the Times, and in that same year he received a major acting role in the Christopher Nolan film Dunkirk. Now he is back with his second studio album, a record that is 12 tracks and 46 minutes long, which isn't that much longer than his previous record, about standard length for a pop album as well. Now going into this record, I didn't totally know what to expect because I only just listened to Harry's first record a few nights ago. I had been planning to listen to it for a while, but just kind of never got around to it. And I did like it. It wasn't like the greatest thing that I had ever heard. I wasn't totally floored by it, but it was a nice blend of soft rock and folk. And while it didn't suddenly turn me into a massive Harry Styles fan, I was pretty interested to see where he would go next. Little did I know that I would be completely blown away by this record and that it would possibly be one of my favorite albums of the year. Yes, after how disappointing of a year 2019 has been for music, at least in my eyes, it's nice that not only is my final review of the year an album that I love, but it's also a pleasant surprise. I feel like I haven't gotten a lot of those this year. And I think my excitement for this album just stems from how much Harry has grown in terms of his style, how much he's changed things up, and how well he's doing it this time around. Right from the starter track Golden, I could say it feels nothing like Harry's previous album. As I mentioned, that was a record full of a lot of soft rock and folk-esque songs, but this one is a little more bright and poppy with some colorful guitars and a ride cymbal heavy beat. Harry's vocals are somewhat mellow, but they fit nicely over the instrumentals here, and while it took me a while to find a hook, I did end up really liking the chorus, and from there the album got me excited, and that excitement pretty much never really let up. Like, I really love the track Watermelon Sugar, which continues on the sunny feel from the first track. It's another guitar-driven song that eventually morphs into something with a little more of a funky feel. It's one of those songs that feels equal parts relaxable and danceable. I like how the groovy instrumentals fit so harmoniously with the lighter bits of percussion on this one. Harry's vocals are lovely, and this is one of those rare cases where a repetitive hook actually really works. It's got an intoxicating vibe, and this could have really worked as a summer track if it was released in the summer. I also love the track Adore You, where Harry continues to lean into the funky, somewhat electronic Britpop feel. In a few ways, I hear the song and it kind of feels like Bruno Mars meets the 1975 or something to that regard. The guitar riffs remain very catchy, the beat clicks along nicely and doesn't get in the way of these slick guitar solos. Harry's vocals are very charismatic here, and it's just a really nice, joyful, blissful piece of ear candy that you're gonna have trouble getting out of your head. Though in this case, I think that's actually a good thing. And then there's the lead-off single from this record, Lights Up. It starts off with this bright feel, it's built off some lovely guitar riffs, but throughout the song, it takes some routes into something that's a little more minimal with some melancholic pianos and some beautiful harmonies. Much of the vocal passages in this song are built off of vocal harmonies, but luckily they complement Harry's singing very wonderfully and add another layer to what's a very strong lead-off single. A song built off of themes of nostalgia that just sounds beautiful and never skips a beat. Then there's the track Cherry, which seems to be about Harry's ex-girlfriend Camille Rowe. This one leans a little bit more into the folk influence that Harry had on his first record. It's a minimal acoustic song that feels a little more raw than some of the previous tracks, but in this case he shows that he's up for the challenge. The instrumental itself takes some fascinating twists as the acoustic guitars are mixed and layered with some heavier slide guitars and synths, and Harry shows us that he could really lift the song with some very nice vocals as well. As if that wasn't already a standout, then there's the track Falling, which is a light, raw piano ballad where Harry kind of talks about how he feels like he's morphing into someone that he doesn't want to be. It's a heartbreaking track where Harry really bares his soul and just lets the pain fall right out, and it's a song that gives him a great opportunity to showcase his beautiful vocals. The all-around light feel of the song just allows his emotion to flow out to the point where you can just really feel his pain as his vocals crack. It's a beautiful beautifully emotional song that, for as many amazing songs as there are on here, it's definitely one of the most poignant moments on the record. There is also the track To Be So Lonely, which picks up the pieces a bit from the last one and feels a little bit like a drunk call from Harry to an ex of his. It's light but carefree, built on some fast guitar strums and a more bouncy beat. As light and relaxing as it is though, it does have a good deal of swell on the chorus, and said chorus is so immediate and catchy that it again just gets into your head super quick, and honestly you don't really want to get it out. I will say, as much as I've been gushing about this record though, there are a few tracks that I'm not as crazy about, like the track She, which kind of worried me right from the start. Being a 6-minute long track, I wondered how Harry was going to be able to handle something of this length, especially given that his last record didn't have anything that was that long. Not only that, but the song itself has a slow feel to it that I wasn't sure would be interesting for its entire duration. And I would honestly say its length is its biggest detriment, because the light guitar plucks are nice and Harry's vocals are nice on the chorus, but I think the song just goes on a bit too long. The second half is just some guitar riffing and soloing, and while it sounds alright, I think it could have just been tightened up a little bit. Though I did like the track Sunflower Volume 6, which I kind of wanted to make a joke about because I wondered if the title was a commentary on how many songs these days are titled Sunflower. But the song is very blissful again. It's built on the themes of nostalgia and memories, and it kind of brings me back to something like Feels Like Summer by Childish Gambino, but with a little more bounce and a little more energy to it. Harry's vocals are once again great, the electronic feel is nice, it's just another vibrant song worth breaking the replay button with. There's also the very beachy song Canyon Moon that feels like something you'd probably hear out of maybe Jack Johnson. It's still got a little more punch than a typical Jack Johnson song because the acoustic guitars are energetic and the song retains the typical relaxed feel of the album, even if the lyrics are a little more bittersweet here. I also like the very small, understated bits of percussion on this one. It sounds like there are a few congas in the back, and Harry once again sounds lovely on this song, rounding it out and making it feel like a pretty solid standout track on a record that has plenty of standouts. And then there's the cut Treat People With Kindness, which Harry bases around a catchphrase that he's been using on his tours since 2017. Not a bad catchphrase to base your merch on, or to just live by in general. It's another bouncy, bright cut that has good bits of funk and groove thanks to the catchy guitars and the varied percussion on this one. Harry oozes charisma, and even though his vocals are removed from the chorus, the choir vocals are actually very catchy and the song moves in some very interesting sonic directions. So it's definitely a really lovely one that I was very surprised that I ended up enjoying as much as I did. Unfortunately, the album does end off on a bit of a low note with the title track Fine Line. I once again got a little bit nervous because of this song being 6 minutes in length, and while Harry tried to quell my fears by telling me that this track was his favorite and that it was really special to him, I felt like it was another one that burned a little too slow for a song of its length. It does sound nice and it does have a very meditative, hypnotic nature to it, but given that the song has more sparse lyrics and a repetitive chorus, it can be a bit too tedious of a song to listen to even when the instrumental swells up a bit. It's definitely not a bad track, but for a closer, I kind of wished it was tightened up a little bit, like I said about the track She. But disappointing ending aside, I'm glad that with how disappointing this year has been for music, Harry's been able to end off 2019 with something pretty great. I feel like this album shows Harry coming into his own as an artist, and while some of the tracks feel like him wearing his inspirations on his sleeve a little bit, it doesn't feel like he's just baselessly ripping from them. It feels like he's kind of lovingly creating a very eclectic blend of pop, folk, and other kinds of styles. He doesn't totally ditch the aesthetic that he had on his first album, but he instead lets himself try some other things that show a little bit more of his range in comparison to that record. He regularly showcases very great vocals throughout this thing, and he comes through with some pretty great production that I think blows his debut record out of the water, thus resulting in a record that's equal parts nostalgic, heartbreaking, relaxing, and danceable. It's easily the best solo record from any of the former One Direction boys thus far, and with how unexciting this year has been for music, it's nice that we get to end off with a pleasant surprise. My favorite tracks from this thing? There's a lot, so get ready. Golden, Watermelon Sugar, Adore You, Lights Up, Cherry Falling, To Be So Lovely, Sunflower Volume 6, Canyon Moon, and Treat People With Kindness. And my least favorites were She and Fine Line. So every track was either a favorite or least favorite. How about that? Overall, I definitely gotta say that Harry Styles' latest album, Fine Line, is gonna get an excellent rating from me. Feels like it's been a while since I've given that rating, but I think this record really deserves it. Harry did a very good job with it, and I'm very excited to see where he goes next on his third album, whenever that decides to come out. But that's just my opinion on this album. What did you guys think of it? Did you love it as much as I did? Were you more indifferent towards it? Did you hate it? And how would you stack it up to not only Harry's debut album, but up to the solo records from the other One Direction members thus far? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe subscribed, thank you. If not, again, I understand. It's no big deal. And as I said, this is my last album review of 2019, so now I'm going to be going into list mode. The lists that I will be doing this year include every Billboard Hot 100 top 10 hit from worst to best, the albums that I hated this year, and the albums that I loved this year. I'm not really going to be calling them best and worst lists, and I'll explain why when they come out. But otherwise, just one more time, I want to say thank you guys for supporting my reviews this year. Thank you guys for subscribing, for hitting like, and for all the feedback you've given on my videos. And thank you guys for taking kindly to my reviews. I tend to overthink these, and I tend to be really nervous when I get on camera to do these, but you guys have made it a little bit easier, so thank you. I know that I'm not a huge channel, I know I don't get a ton of views or anything like that, not a lot of people comment, but I appreciate those of you guys that do. I appreciate you guys that check in, and it's been a fun first year doing reviews on YouTube. I can't wait to do this for many more years into the future. Hopefully you guys stick around. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.